So I've been doing my placement at a sixth form for the past few months, and in that time I've had, I think, about 10 or 11 clients who are between 16 to 18, and I've learned a lot about what goes on in the world of young people. Of course, I was young once upon a time, but the things that young people are going through today is quite different to some of the stuff that maybe you might have gone through as a young child at that age. So I'm going to share with you some things that I've taken away in working with young people, and the information that I hope will help you if you're a parent, or if you have children who are teenagers, or you come into contact with teenagers, or you hope to have children of your own one day. These are some really, really crucial and vital information that I think would really help anybody who cares for teenagers in any way, shape, or form. Some of the things that I'm going to be covering in today's video is the reason why some young people hate their parents or don't care about their parents, why they might struggle to get on well with their parents, and why they won't share things with their parents, and about why they might struggle in school, and the struggles that they have in being vulnerable and sharing things and pretending to be happy and to be confident, and the kind of mental health issues that are common amongst the people that I've worked with. So of course, don't generalize to every young person, but this is just from my experience. So the first thing that really, really stood out to me after my first few clients that I had is how often a lot of the young people said that they hated their parents, or didn't like their parents anymore, or didn't care about their parents anymore, or just probably felt like they only loved their parents simply because they were their parents and they'd raised them. But beyond that, there was no other affection or sort of love and care for their parents besides the fact that they have looked after them. And a lot of this came from the fact that their parents treated them badly and looked after them badly and raised them badly from childhood for a prolonged period of time. So of course, if maybe, for example, if you are struggling to be a good parent maybe for a year or two for whatever reason, it's a very big difference to being a bad parent for your child's whole existence on this earth, you know. And a lot of these kids were expressing how they feel like their parents have let them down. Their parents have been there for them financially, have provided for them food, shelter, but they have not been there for them emotionally. They have not provided any sort of emotional support, any sort of emotional affection to show that I love you and I do these things for you because you're not just my child, but because I actually love you as a human being and I love who you are as a person. A lot of these children have made it very clear how they feel like their parents don't show them any emotional affection, which has led to them feeling neglected emotionally, because you can't ignore a child's emotion. If you consistently ignore children's emotional needs for a long time, how can they be emotionally attached to you? And if they're not emotionally attached to you, what reason do they have to care about you and to love you? And I'm sorry to say it, but your children don't owe you love just because they're your children. They don't owe you things. You brought them into this world, so it's your responsibility to look after them, not just feed them and keep them alive, but actually be there for them emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And that's one of the big reasons that led to a lot of the young people that I've had the honor of counseling. They have shared that they felt very neglected by their parents. So a lot of it is like parents just not even caring how they are doing at school, not checking on them, not knowing anything about them. They don't listen to them. Even when they do speak, their parents dismiss them a lot of the time, or they don't want to hear it, or they react in a very negative way. And over time, over many years, of course, a child quickly learns that I shouldn't speak to mom, I shouldn't speak to dad, because they're just not going to listen anyway, or they're going to shout, or they're going to be like this, and that response is not what they want or what they expect. So, and a lot of them know exactly what they want in a parent, and they can see that their parent doesn't even do the bare minimum. So that's one of the things that really stood out to me. Another thing is also favoring siblings over one child for whatever reason. Kids pick up on this no matter how old or young. It's very easy for children to notice this, especially when it's been going on for years and years. It's not too late to make amends, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take a big apology. One thing about these children is that they made it very clear their parents haven't been apologetic. Their parents haven't even been aware. They've been so ignorant of how bad their parenting is that they can't even be corrected. And so it's going to take a lot of time to make amends. You have to apologize, not just verbally, but in your actions. You have to work at it for probably a few years until your children realize that, okay, you are making an effort and you are for real this time, and you're not pretending and you're not just doing it to get something, but you genuinely mean it, and you understand that you weren't a good parent and now you're trying to be a good parent. Because a lot of them genuinely said, I don't like my parents, I hate my parents. And it's a strong statement to make, but 16 years or 17 years or 18 years of emotional neglect is going to eventually take its toll on somebody, no matter who you are. Another common issue that I've noticed, of course, is that a lot of parents complain, oh, my children don't speak to me, my children don't speak to me. And yeah, there's a reason why your children don't speak to you. One thing that came up a lot in therapy was based on the previous point, they don't have an emotional attachment to their parent. And another thing is that when they were growing up, maybe they tried to speak to their parents. They, as a child, you're gonna cry, you're gonna moan, you're gonna nag, because that's the only way you know how to communicate. And growing up, naturally, kids are curious. As kids are learning to talk, they're gonna ask questions, they're gonna want to know things. And children who now no longer speak to their parents because as a child they were constantly ignored, they were either shouted at or they were pushed to the side, they were made to feel like they weren't a priority over and over again. Maybe they were told to constantly shut up, maybe they were always being told that they're annoying or that they talk too much, and over time being told that over a decade and a half, it's going to have its toll once again. So if you're a parent whose child doesn't speak to you anymore, that might be the reason. Of course, like I said, this is not a way to generalize all children and say that this is the reason why all of them act a certain way. This is just from my experience. It might resonate with you and it might not, but don't take this as a generalization. It's just what I've learned from my experience. And if you didn't show interest in your child when they were younger, trying to speak to you, trying to show you things, trying to be like, mommy, watch this, daddy, can you look at this, and you constantly ignored them, they internalize that and learn that mum or dad doesn't care, mum or dad are not interested in what I do. So now that they're older, it's like, why should I even go to them? Kids learn a lot and they absorb a lot, even if you're not saying directly that I'm not interested. Your words and your behavior show them that you're not interested, and they learn that very quickly. So moving on to the third thing that I've learned, that all of the things that I've mentioned, the first point and the second point, ultimately affects school performance, which is number 3. A lot of the kids that I've had in therapy, some of them really, really struggle with school, but the only reason they struggle with school is because of life at home. Bad parents, neglectful parents, which has led to a lot of mental health issues for some of these young people, which I'll get onto in a bit. So ultimately, a lot of the time, from my understanding and from my experience, that the performance of a child in school is very, very much dependent on their home life. If their home life is stable and good, chances are they're also going to thrive at school. If they're struggling at home and they are neglected at home and they don't have resources and support at home, but pressure or neglect or whatever else it may be, it's going to show up at school. And a lot of my clients have a really difficult home life, and then at school they struggle as a result of that. So if you're a teacher, or if you want to go into teaching someday, please kind of be aware or take notice of the fact that if students in your class are not behaving well, don't take it personally. It's not because it's you, it's not because it's your lesson. Yes, of course, that they might say that's why, but a lot of it is a way of them trying to get attention and a cry for help. Not attention in a bad way, but as in a cry for help because things are not good at home. Of course, even if you ask them, they might say, no, it's none of your business, or I don't want to talk to you, because a lot of them don't have emotional intelligence. A lot of them don't have the emotional language and the words to communicate their needs because it hasn't been taught from a young age at home. They've never had emotional support and contentment and a strong emotional attachment. So don't be surprised if you ask them, is everything okay at home, and they say yes, or they say it's none of your business. Then probably unlikely to just open up to you in that very moment. So a lot of the common struggles that I've seen with some of my clients is suicidal thoughts, a lot of anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, which then also affects their school performance. So like I said, just be conscious of that and don't take it personally if you are a teacher. Another thing which I learned working with young people is that a lot of them are pretending. A lot of them are pretending to be happy, to be confident, and they feel like they're the only ones going through stuff. And I think we can all relate to this, as when we were younger, we all thought that we were the only people going through certain things. So a lot of them struggle to share deep things with their friends, struggle to have a safe space to talk to somebody, especially when they've never had it at home. They really struggle to do that with friends because they don't know how to, and they've never had to, and they don't feel comfortable in doing so, because they've never been shown it in their own families. So a lot of them, they feel like they're the only ones going through stuff. Therefore, they feel like, if I tell my friends, are my friends going to take me seriously? Are my friends going to help me? Or am I just going to be putting stuff on them that they don't need? And a lot of them, for some reason, assume that everyone else has got it all together. They think, oh, this person is doing so well and this person has everything together. It's like, that's not true. But for some reason, that's a perception that a lot of them carry. So you'll find that a lot of them, some of them don't even share with their friends what's going on at home. and the struggles that they face at home. There's a lot of pretending going on. So I guess all that to say, if you're a parent, make amends with your child. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. Speak to your children, start asking about their lives, but don't be, pestery, don't nag them, don't start overpowering them with questions, don't be overbearing with questions, but you can simply apologize and acknowledge what you did wrong or what you haven't done. And there's a chance that they might not be so keen to open up and to accept your apology immediately, but it's going to take time. It might take months, it might take years, but it's up to you as a parent and as the caregiver to do that, because it was you who was in the wrong. You brought children into this world and you should have raised them in a certain way. You might not have known better, but now you do. You can always make amends. And similarly for teachers, try not to take everything so personally. If kids are misbehaving in your class, I bet you there's a 90% chances because of stuff that's going on at home that's out of their control, that they can't help. And school is their cry for help, is their outlet, and it's the place where they act out, unfortunately, and that has nothing to do with you as a teacher. So please don't be the reason that a child needs to see a counsellor. So if you'd like to know more about my placement, I did a vlog a few months ago which you can watch next. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.